Welcome to another episode of Timeless Business and Building Strategies. Today we are with Eric Benson of Benson Inc. They do security, fire, and life safety. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Excited to be on.
So, Eric, can you give us a little historical reference on your company?
Sure. My father started it in 1986 here locally in Gilbert, Arizona. He started it out of his garage. Um, Grew up as a technician in the field and decided that he could do it better and started Benson Systems. So back in 86, he was originally just a security contractor doing cameras, access control, integration. And over the years, he kind of morphed into bringing on fire alarm first, and then eventually brought on all the suppression side, sprinkler, special hazards, all that. And then in 2004, we built this corporate building that I'm in today still. It's a 55,000 square foot facility that we house our warehousing and our training and our office staff. I mean, at one point he had multiple offices throughout the country, but in '08, the crash, he kind of brought everything back to Arizona. Um, and then probably around, what was it, when I was 21, so it was 2011, after college, I've been working here full time since then. I've been originally a warehouse manager. I've done technician in the field. I've done our operations management. I've done our service management. I've been our controller. I've been our CFO. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything. And as of almost 3 years ago, I took over as CEO. Um, and I'm kind of running the helm now. So we've been kind of just focused in on our security and fire protection since then. Mainly commercial. Way back in the early days, he did some residential, but we're mainly commercial today. So we have customers like Gilbert Public Schools, Arizona Cardinals, um, that type of subset of customers. So that's a quick history.
Fantastic. So people understand that aren't in tune all the way, Eric. Could you explain what access control covers?
Yeah, so usually for our customers, access control is entry and exit to their building. Through it used to be key fob, but nowadays we're even doing it to where it's like mobilely on their cell phone. They don't even need to pull it out; they just wave their hand. So why do they do it? I think most of the time it's either from a safety standpoint, not allowing certain people to get in. Sometimes it's a convenience standpoint. Sometimes it's a kind of a bottleneck to force people to go through an entry and exit. So they usually have cameras also tied to it. Um, it's better for easy use. Our larger customers were in the old days were having to give keys to people if they
Right.
didn't have access control, which they would lose the keys. They would have to rekey the door. It made a very slow and manual process, that access control fixed. So there's a lot of integration that goes with it as well, tied to other systems. Usually when we install an access control, you have to tie it into the fire alarm because it needs to unlock when there's a fire alarm, so it allows the firefighters to come in. Um, so that's kind of high level overview of what access control and what our customers use it for.
Perfect. Yeah, basically we get the access control, the fire alarms, and the sprinklers all work in conjunction. So, you guys are running the full gamut. A lot of times you'll have fire alarm companies that handle the security and fire alarms and then sprinklers only. Do you guys still do sprinklers?
Yes, we
Okay.
do.
So you guys are running the full gamut. So that's quite an operation. So, Eric, how big is your team?
We're probably 75 people. Uh,
75 people.
75
Awesome.
with probably 40 of those being technicians in the field and the rest either office staff or sales staff.
Awesome. All right. So I like to dig in a little bit on business understanding, if that's okay with you first, and then
Sure.
we'll get a little more in there. So, um, you've bounced around as you stated, right? You were a controller, CFO, a technician in the field, running different departments. So as you got all of that knowledge, where did you find your strongest suit? What were you best at in those areas?
I like to say I also have an older brother in the business as well that works with me. Him and I are a good fit. I've always kind of, not that I dislike the operation side, I just never found an interest in it.
Right.
Been more of a sales business side of like strategic businesses. There's some other things that we used to do that since I took over, we kind of stopped doing, and I kind of refocused. At one point, we were in California. I brought us out of California, so more of the strategic business development,
Mm-hmm.
where the company's going, and I've always loved the sales side, uh, for
That's
sure.
awesome. So what we call that, and I don't know if you operate on EOS, but so we would call you the visionary, and your
Yes,
brother sounds like the integrator, right?
we
Uh,
just brought on EOS last year, by the way. Uh,
oh, fantastic.
So we're not quite through our first year yet, but so far we're loving it. And what you said is exactly right.
Yeah. So, and those are where you get the synergy of a strong partnership. So,
Yeah.
sounds like you and your brother are running the ship and, staying in your lane, deferring all technical questions to your brother, operational and process questions would be handled by his brother. While Eric sounds like he would be leading and driving the organization on where it's going, the vision for the future, what they're pursuing, setting the vision and the clarity for everyone in the company on where they're going. So that is fantastic, Eric. So being that you guys are 1 year in, that is awesome. Are you guys self-implementing this, or do you have an implementer working with you?
We have an implementer that I got introduced to. She's been fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. So having an implementer really fast forwards the process significantly. So always, if you can afford to hire one, it's well worth it. So, what have you guys got your full vision traction organizer complete?
Yes,
And do you guys hold weekly L10s?
we do.
Okay.
Right now, it's just the leadership team. I have not got it out to the rest of the company yet. It's just the leadership team.
Sure. That's awesome. And how big is your leadership team?
Uh, as I'm sure you're aware, EOS kind of makes you go through things that I think is healthy, but
Mhm.
sometimes intense. So we've had to work through some positions in the leadership team, and right now, it's just my brother and I. Right
Oh,
now,
okay.
um, so
Okay. And are you two meeting every week?
yeah,
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. So we've been running it, my company, 4 years. And yeah, the leadership team, you want to keep it at the most seven and below. What a lot of times happens in a smaller company, and you want, to be very careful. Eric's talking, they got 75 people. He's only at two. And there's nothing wrong with that. The most important factor whenever you're starting with the OS is you don't want to bring in too many people. And
yep,
if you're a company of 10 and you're bringing in seven of them as the leadership team, that's a problem. Because as the
yes,
company starts to grow, then you're going to want to be having to exit some of these people. And I think it speaks that you guys are very carefully considering everything as you're rolling this out. So that is fantastic. Now, have you, when you're saying you guys have a VTO, have you rolled out your VTO to your company?
not yet.
You have not rolled that out. Okay. When do you plan on doing that?
We have our first State of the Union that address to the company scheduled next month. So
Oh,
everything's kind of starting next month.
that's great. Now, when you guys have done this, and I know you're saying that the leadership team is tricky. Do you guys use any trait profiling surveys for your team member to establish their strengths and weaknesses to, facilitate their position and right person, right seat?
You know, it's funny you bring that up. I recently joined a group called YPO last year as well. Here
Yeah.
locally in Arizona, I'm part of a chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And inside of YPO, they're known as forums. So I'm with like 7 other people. And we just had our forum retreat and we did like business presentations. And they all talked about this on how they use these certain personality tests.
Mm-hmm.
We do not do that. But man, it opened my eyes with them how explaining it to me like you are now. Uh, I would love to implement it. We do not today.
Okay. Yeah. So one that we use is called culture index. Now there's predictive index, culture index, Myers-Briggs. There's a large variety of them. Culture index is great. And why we use it is it not only predicts the person by their traits, but it also puts something within it where you can continually do it to existing employees. It's got a secondary measurement which will tell you how they're feeling in their workplace, can tell you if they're in alignment or out of alignment, tells you if they're stressed and they're happy and engaged with their job, or disengaged, meaning that they might not be happy, overly stressed, looking for another job. So it's a good thing to gauge as you're moving forward. But it sounds like you guys are on the right track, and that's great, Eric. That's awesome. So that is very interesting. Now, size wise, you've got 75 people, 40 in tech. So, what is your structure of your company? Do you guys have a full organizational chart, accountability chart?
Yes.
And does everybody have one role is for one person, no overlap? Have you guys got all that?
Yes.
Oh, that is
Now,
awesome.
my older brother's named Corey. So Corey and I are wearing multiple seats. So him and I are in multiple seats, but everyone else is in a single seat.
That's awesome. Yeah, just to speak to what he's saying. So even so, you've got one person, one role, and you want to build out that org chart with all the roles and responsibilities, and it might have 30, 40, 50 other seats that you guys don't have anyone to fill as you're a growing company, and any company really. And so someone has to do those roles. And so, yes, as Eric's saying, you might be in multiple seats. That's okay. You want to have everything established for when you grow, to have those seats assigned and someone to be able to fill it in eventually as you offload things that as you grow, you get overwhelmed with. Well, Eric, it sounds like you guys are rocking and rolling. So let's go a little bit into your business and find out more about your guys' business and what you're pursuing and what you're doing. So could you give us a quick rundown of the best project you're working on right now?
Open projects.
Or one up and
Sure.
coming,
Uh,
or just finished?
we're working with, I have not been given the liberty to say the company name yet, but we are working with a national brand that we're getting very close. That is going to like a headquartered here in Phoenix. And if this first project goes well, then the goal is to perform this security work nationwide in all their satellite offices. Um, so that's a really amazing job we're working on. One job that we actually are just finishing is Gilbert Public Schools did an RFP where like 100 and some companies showed up originally. I think 35 submitted a proposal. Then they went down to 12 to do presentations and then did the final 3. And we made it all the way and got awarded. And
Wow.
that was a really big statement job for us. It was upgrading the whole entire district. And for those people that don't know, Gilbert Public Schools is one of the larger districts in Arizona. They have 45 schools with like another 5 or 6 facility buildings. So it was a very large project that they entrusted in us, that we pretty much designed on our own, and implemented over the last 3.5 years. It took us to get done with that project, but that was, 12 million right there alone. So that was a really big statement job. And, you know, one of the things that I've been really working on, and I'm sure other people that have a family business is taking over, trying to go to the next level, is I think is probably understanding this is my father's been in business here locally since 86. Our name is out there. He's very well known. We're almost, what I like to say, which is I hate saying, but it's the truth, is like we're kind of successful despite ourselves. We get people that would call in and we're just handling inbound. So one of the biggest things that I've had to fix is more of an outbound sales, business development, marketing structure, that we're actually going after stuff. Before it was just kind of like we would just handle inbound and people would just call. And I did not have a company set up and ready to actually do some real outbound. Like we have a sales staff, but most of them has been account managers that have just been handling accounts that we've had and keeping up with them. So that's been the biggest thing that I've been working on is, I hired a sales development rep, I split up the sales team. One account manager brought another one of my sales girls over to be our account executive to only focus on outbound. And it's been interesting to get that thing set up and do it properly. But we've had massive success. Some of the more important things we're working on right now has come from this group that I would not have had if I didn't create this group. So that would be the number one thing that I had to fix is we needed a more sustainable sales staff. And I also think in today's environment, like, you know, I think companies are going to have to do some form of this, or I don't know if they're going to make it in today's environment with how technology is and trying to find new opportunities.
Wow. Now, is the majority of your work direct to owner, or do you guys also work for GCs?
That's another unique thing. I was just at a happy hour, and most of these other executives I talked to said their business through contractors is like 85%. We're quite the opposite. I would argue we're probably 85 to 90% direct to end user. Um, we have a large service department, which is kind of unique here. With other competitors of ours, we have a big, we're probably 250,000 a month in reoccurring revenue. And that is all credit to my father. I mean, that's what he's focused on his whole career is it's much, I don't want to say easier, but and it's easier for our world because if people know, like a lot of ours is deferred submittal anyways. So even if we were working with contractors, we're in a unique position that they look to us to make the fire protection designs and the security designs. A lot of the time, security is not even involved in the contractor. That's usually direct to owner. So for us, we have not gone after new construction a ton. From my standpoint, we could grow fast if I said, "Oh, let's go out." But that's not our core. That's not our culture. We want to be a company that goes direct to end user, and really, a lot of companies survive off the jobs. The jobs are a nice benefit for us, but really for us, it's like we want to service this customer for the next 30 years. Like we have lots of customers. My dad originally cold called back in early 90s that we still have today. That to me is where the value is. So that's what we focus on.
Perfect. So just to break this down a little bit for what Eric is saying, in case you are not quite understanding. So when you get the fire sprinkler, the security system put into a building and the building is complete, that's then monitored by a company, which was where his reoccurring revenue is. So what he's saying is they have built up so that's where the direct to owner comes in. He's built up a large collection of people and they have serviced their accounts very well, which is why they've been able to have a long-term relationship built. Because if you don't service it, there's 10 other people trying to come in and take over your service package. So you have to be competitive at that, and you have to be responsive, not overpricing and gouging people. And that's how you maintain long relationships. And so building that up over the years is great. Another thing that you said that often happens, I know in our market, is for sure, the fire sprinkler designs are rarely thrown into a CD set from an architect and engineer. They'll do everything but the sprinklers. So then you have to go to someone like Eric and They bid the job as basically a design build. They'll do the design, they'll submit, and it's kind of anomaly in the project where it's kind of
Yeah.
out, it's included in the scope, but it's not in the drawing, and
Yeah.
everything is put back on your type of company. So
Yep.
just to break that down for everybody a little bit more, that is great. I want to get back. I'm trying to go back to some of my notes here as you were going over so many cool tidbits. I wanted to catch a couple things. One, if I could, just so someone else who's looking at this would understand, you're just in Arizona, and you said you were working on with a national brand, have satellite offices. What would be your plan for being able to service and work someone national satellite offices? Could you go through that for us so someone would understand?
Sure. We have a couple national accounts now, and most of the time it's on our security side, not our fire protection. Um, we kind of look at it, they're both valuable. And if I had to look at our next 10 years, I keep telling my team our biggest opportunity is going to come from our fire protection side. Because if I ask the market, like people know us as a security integrator, I'm trying to fix that and make us into one of the largest and best brands when it comes to fire protection, but we're just not quite there yet. But fire protection is kind of like a commodity. Nobody really loves to spend money on fire protection. Obviously, it's needed per code. Nobody has an option. So it's more of a commodity. It's a different sales process. It's a different sales cycle than our security, right? Security is very few times you have to have it, very few. So most of the time it's an option that the owner, like we have to go sell, like we think this is going to help your business, make you money, um, maybe help you with insurance, whatever the reason is. So we do a lot of, and we don't do a lot of like data cabling, wire pulling. We don't do a lot of that. A lot of our competitors, that's the bulk of their business. We like to focus on like the server, the end product, the cameras, and the integration to make it work with all the other systems in the building. So when companies come to us, they're taking our value. Like we have a bunch of guys. We have guys who've been here for 20 plus years that have all the certifications. So they're paying us to trust us to make sure this integrates properly. So in that sense, we have agreed that hey, like we're gonna have travel, and they value our services so much. We make an agreement that they're paying for these things, um, and we travel. That's usually what happens. But there's also been some times where we've had a national brand with like a couple hundred locations, and it was more of a service level agreement. And what we've done there, which all the big boys do, like the biggest conglomerates in our space, they do some work, but they sub out to companies like Benson's of the world and all the local markets. We kind of done that in the past too, where we've hired on different brands and the other markets. So we've done a little bit of both, but most of the time it's I'll pay for whatever because I trust you so much. Just make sure this is done properly. And that's what we're kind of talking about with this um, opportunity.
Oh, that's fantastic. Something I want to touch on that you just brought up, which I think is extremely important when we talk about, looking forward to the future and business success. The technology is moving at such a rapid pace at this moment. Integration is critical. Understanding integration between softwares and communication between softwares is, to me, one of the most important facets where I feel like a CTO is almost going to be running companies here pretty shortly. The chief technology officer is probably going to be one of the most important roles in business in the next 3 to 5 years, in my opinion.
Yep.
And it's based upon the crazy amount of different technologies and how these things communicate and integrating them together. And even with AI's help, it's a massive undertaking. So could you tell us a little bit about integration? What are you guys integrating? What are
Well,
some of the components you're putting together and working and having them work and communicate?
Like Gilbert, for example, the original RFP was just cameras, then it led into access control, which led into security, which led into fire alarm, which is kind of like an amazing use case.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people even kind of understand, and I can't fault them. I mean, some of our competitors don't even truly understand what is possible, let alone how do we expect our customer to understand it. Um,
Right.
but like Gilbert, we have our cameras integrated with the access control. The access control is integrated with the security and the fire alarm monitoring. And it's all on one day. We built out a security operations center for them, which they have
Mm-hmm.
multiple TVs in a room that we built out that they have two security staff monitoring and everything. All these, think of them as like touch points, like devices come
Mm-hmm.
up into this central pane that one of our manufacturers called a Vigilon does a really, really good job. Could you imagine someone trying to look at 5,000 devices? It's kind of impossible. So they have this system that kind of turns red when you have a alert that'll pop up a certain device. And if a security alarm goes off, then they have a camera tied to it that'll give them a snippet video of where that device is going off. So that took a lot of integration from our programmers at the end of the job. Lots.
Sure. I
That
believe it.
pulls in all these. We can bring in the EMS system as well. There's a you can almost do anything nowadays. And as my
Mhm.
father said back when he started, that was very difficult. It was almost impossible. And
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of it was being done over phone line, and it was like very antiquated. In today's environment, you can almost connect anything. You're talking thermostats, EMS, you know, anything and everything that you can control and really bring it into a point to where the end user can actually use it, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times what we say is like if we find that difficult to work, how do we expect our customers to work it, right? And if we can't make it
Mhm.
very simple for them, then we almost can't sell it. We can't expect them to be the absolute experts. That's what they're paying us for. So some of these systems today make it quite amazing what they can do. And a lot of time is during our sales process, we're having to educate people like, really, you can do that?
Mhm.
Like all the time. Like the biggest one lately is retail, is like these cameras can focus in on heat sensing to where people spend the most time in these retail stores. So they can put their best product or whatever they want to do in certain areas of the store. It's like pretty amazing what these things can do now.
Oh gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, that is really, you're breaking it down to the functional reality of what these people are using for. And that's just it. To speak to what you're saying, when you're understanding these technologies and how to take advantage of them, that's how you lead in as the forefront of your industry. So it sounds like you guys are doing a great job on that. That's awesome. Yeah. Now, what I would say, another piece of the integration, how, me as a general contractor looks at it, we're using upwards of 11 different softwares right now. Getting the different softwares to communicate, integrate together, and push pieces across different platforms, it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then technology is moving so rapidly that it is hard to maintain one, because you get far with one, then it's outdated. You've got to upgrade to the next one, and it's going so quickly. It's just hard to keep up. Now, I wanted to go back to one thing. Now, you've said you've gotten more into outbound sales. With your outbound sales procedures, do you guys use CRMs?
We do. We didn't before.
Right.
But yes, before I put a bunch of investment into this, I brought in an outside consultant that I met. I really wanted to do it right because everyone has ideas, but to actually deliver on it and get success from it is a whole different other thing. Uh, trust me, there was a lot of things that I did not know. I just know this needed to happen. So, yeah, I brought in someone to kind of help set it up. And then eventually I'm at a point to where my team internally is at a point where we can run it. But there's so many softwares that I'm learning over the last year that makes things so much easier. But to your point, right now I'm using three softwares that don't really talk to each other. So the SOP I had to put together was quite intensive. Um, So to your point, like we have the same problems internally, obviously not with our cameras and access, but like
Right.
our business platforms, we're having the same, I don't want to say problems, but the same um,
Challenges. It's a
concerns.
challenge.
And right now, AI is being thrown at all of us. Like there's this for that, there's this for that, and it's like a little bit overwhelming to the point. To your point, like you almost have to have someone internally that can digest all this and figure out because there's also a lot of things that people say they can do. It doesn't really do it. That's a lot. There's a lot of that that's happening too.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what we're thrown in. So you'll get one software, and then be told, oh, no, 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 this software integrates better. So you would need to go to this one. It communicates better with the software. Yeah. Yeah. And then you'll catch yourself, well, I just got to manually do it twice because none of them work. Right. And to
Yep.
get them done right. So it does become overwhelming. But I did love how you said you didn't know what needed to happen, but you just know it needed to happen, which is typical visionary, right? You're
Yeah.
bouncing all around. You got 50 ideas. Somebody's got to put this together. I just know it'll work.
Yeah.
so, so, so that's fantastic. All right. Well, man, I'm so thankful that you were able to come on. It sounds like you guys' business is doing great. And I always recommend for any entrepreneur, any business owner getting involved in any type of mentorship group or forums that you can go. I'm in GoBundance, I'm in Vistage, you're in what was it, YPO, which is another one. There's tons of them out there.
Yep.
Always there's Chief Executive Network. So I would always recommend anyone getting involved in those in order to get with other entrepreneurs and business leaders for ideas and different ways to grow your business. Eric, thank you so much for spending the time to come on with us today. We sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great afternoon, guys. Thanks so much.